iPhone 13 versus iPhone 13 Pro. Which iPhone is best for you? Apple is set to launch 4 models of the iPhone 13 this fall, coming in 3 different screen sizes, 2 different SKUs, regular and Pro, but only one iPhone model is gonna end up in your pocket. You catch what I did there? What are the big differences between the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13? Should you spend your money, the extra money, on the Pro and Pro Max, or are the 13 and 13 mini a better value, especially this year? I'm breaking down all the differences between iPhone 13 versus iPhone 13 Pro. This is everything you need to know, because the last thing you want to do is make a big mistake. In just about a month from now, the iPhone 13 will finally become official. This is Apple's latest creation, their latest innovation, and they're hoping there is enough new with these phones to get you to pony up the money, well over sometimes $1,000, to buy a new iPhone. But which of the 4 models is right for you? Obviously, there still is a chance that some things could change with the iPhone 13, but we're pretty certain now that everything is pretty much locked in. I mean, heck, we even have the dummy models, for example, of these phones. We're fairly certain we know everything there is to know about these phones, at least enough to give you a pretty confident recommendation on which iPhone is right for you. We know the features, the big ones and the small ones, and I just wanna kind of help you decide, where should your money go? Are you better off going with the 13, or should you spend the extra money on the Pro end iPhones? First off, let's talk screen sizes, specifically because this is like a make or break moment that could sway you one way or the other right off the bat. And for those who are unaware, the iPhone 13 is coming in 4 different options this year. You've got the 5.4-inch iPhone 13 mini, the 6.1-inch 13, the 6.1-inch 13 Pro, and the 6.7-inch 13 Pro Max. And right off the bat, some of you guys are gonna be sort of split one way or the other. Some of you are gonna want the big 6.7-inch Pro Max, which is a really nice, beautiful iPhone, or you want the more small, compact, much more pocketable 13 mini. So let's start with this phone first, and why you'd wanna get the smallest iPhone. Well, right off the bat, yes, it is the smallest flagship iPhone that Apple sells right now. You're getting the new A15 Bionic processor, you're getting the larger battery, you're getting most of the bells and whistles of the iPhone 13 lineup in a size that is much more compact, pocketable, and some people just find much more comfortable watching videos, playing games, typing things, taking phone calls. I mean, this is just a really nice iPhone screen size, and it's just a really nice form factor to have. You're still getting the great camera system, the new design, all the really big stuff you'd expect with the iPhone 13, you are getting on the 13 mini, but there are a couple of caveats here to be aware of. The biggest one really is battery life. Now, the 12 mini was not a bad phone, but it was heavily criticized, as we expected, for its less than stellar battery performance. And keep in mind that Apple can only do so much. They can only fit a battery so large in a device that is physically this big, and there are some challenges that Apple has to work with. So the 12 mini battery, again, wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. With the 13 mini, Apple is looking to change that. There is going to be a physically larger battery inside of the 13 mini, so just kind of keep in mind that you're not gonna get any miracles here, probably not a battery that's gonna last you 2 days, but at least a day, if not more. How much better it's gonna be over the 12 mini is yet to be seen. We're gonna have to do some tests. I will report back, but as of right now, just know the battery life in here should be better. The other important thing to keep in mind here is that this is the last year of the flagship mini iPhone. If you are a fan of small iPhones, do not wait and buy the 13 mini now or buy it used next year, because there is no more iPhone 14 mini or the mini line continuing, at least according to the rumors. So if you are a fan of smaller iPhones, get the 13 mini this year or buy it used next year, but don't hold out hope for an iPhone 14 mini coming in 2022. And as some of you will immediately be drawn to the mini, others of you, a lot of you, will be drawn to the Pro Max. You want the 6.7-inch OLED display, you want all the features, you want the biggest screen, you want it all. And if you are a fan of large screens, this is the largest screen iPhone you can currently buy as of right now as we go into 2021 and even going into 2022. 6.7 is the largest screen size option. And with that size option of the Pro Max, you're getting, of course, all the features. You're gonna get all the Pro end features, which I'll touch on in a minute, but immediately you're getting the biggest screen, you're getting the most screen real estate to work with inside of apps and messages and stuff like that. You're getting the largest screen iPhone experience possible. And I know that many people just buy the largest screen iPhone because they want the biggest screen. They don't even care about the Pro end features, so I guess that's just kind of a bonus. But you are getting, of course, sort of the best experience here on the 13 Pro Max this year. So if you want the biggest screen iPhone, you got one choice, the 13 Pro Max. You want the smallest screen, go with the 13 mini and you'll probably be happy. But But what if you don't want to go too big, but you also don't want to go too small? If you want to be like Goldilocks, go right in the middle, what are your options there? Well, in that case, you've got the 6.1-inch 13 and the 6.1-inch 13 Pro. Again, the exact same screen size, essentially the exact same OLED display. Not a whole lot of differences here. We'll get to the camera in a minute, but you've got an aluminum build, you've got a stainless steel build, you've got some different color options, but basically they're very close to being the exact same phone with a couple of big caveats, which I'll touch on right now. One of the big features of the Pro-end iPhones this year is that ProMotion is finally gonna be a thing. You're finally going to have 120 Hz high refresh rate displays on the iPhone 13 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, we've seen this on the iPad for a number of years, specifically on the iPad Pro. We've seen this on Android phones. This is really nothing new in the phone universe, not even new in the Apple universe, but this is the first time this is coming to iPhone models. So this is really exciting, and for those of you who want a super snappy, responsive iPhone, this should help with things just being a little bit snappier and better, thanks to the refresh rate on the display essentially being doubled. And this is, of course, thanks to LTPO technology with the display. So there is a slight difference here between the displays on the Pro and regular iPhones. The other potential thing we could see on Pro and iPhones is an always-on display. Now, this is a lot less concrete as ProMotion. That's sort of a done deal. Always-on display is still sort of in limbo, but this is possible with these LTPO displays, that you could sort of have this ultra-low power mode, this always-on display that allows you to sort of look down at your iPhone screen and get information like your activity rings or missed calls or missed messages without you having to touch or interact with anything. It could look similar to what we have on the Apple Watch. This is still, again, in limbo. It could happen or it could not happen, but if it is going to happen, it's only going to be possible on the 13 Pro and Pro Max. If you're a fan of always-on displays, and specifically ProMotion, then you're gonna wanna go with the Pro model and not with the regular 13. Now, regardless of which iPhone model you go with this year, there is some good news coming to every 13 model, and that is that the notch is finally getting smaller. You're not gonna expect any miracles here. The notch is not gonna go away. We're not gonna hole punch. That could be coming next year with the iPhone 14. But this year, the notch is just going to get slightly smaller. Basically, the only change we've seen since the iPhone 10 debuted back in 2017. In addition to some other improvements that everybody can enjoy on all iPhone models. You're gonna have the A15 Bionic processor, which should be more powerful, more efficient. You're gonna have 5G improvements with the new cell modem from Qualcomm. You're going to have a bigger battery in every iPhone, plus some other improvements as well under the hood. Basically, a lot of good things coming to every iPhone model, which sort of raises the stakes more and more for those Pro-end models. What does the Pro and Pro Max have to have in order to get you to spend that money? And a lot of those features will probably come down to camera. But before we get to the camera on the Pros, let me talk about the cameras on these phones, the 13 mini and the 13. What is expected to change for the cameras on these iPhones? Well, not a whole lot, at least based off of the rumors. We're not expecting any drastic changes to the camera system, though you will notice right off the bat there's a difference with these cameras, and that is the diagonal camera orientation on these phones. Apple is not going with the vertically stacked system like we got in years past. You now have these diagonal cameras for one reason or another. Some say that this is because Apple wanted to make these phones look different, so you kind of knew this was a 13 and not a 12. Some believe that Apple is doing this because they need the extra space for sensor shift stabilization technology, which should be coming to all phones. It could be one, it could be the other, honestly it could be a little bit of both, but there are some slight differences here with the 13's camera system, at least on the outside. Again, we don't know specifics. I'd assume a lot of software improvements coming here, better smart HDR photo processing, some better video improvements, stuff like that. Don't expect anything drastic here on these models. That's a different story though than on the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, because the story here is a little bit more interesting. Apple is expected to give us some improvements to the camera system on these phones. Specifically in terms of hardware, we should be getting an improved ultra-wide lens that should have better autofocusing capabilities and should also let in more light as well. So better ultra-wide camera overall, really nice to see. Rumors say that LiDAR is going to remain just to the Pro and iPhone. So again, 13 Pro and Pro Max will have that LiDAR sensor. And of course, the lenses are also getting a little bit bigger here as well. The whole camera apparatus on the back is a little bit more pronounced than what you have on the 12 and 12 Pro, though I don't think it looks all that bad, at least not all that jarring in person. But the bigger differences here and the bigger improvements come in terms of software, which is pretty typical for an SE or iPhone. We're hearing that Apple is expected to give us a couple of big features just for the Pro and Pro Max. The first is portrait mode video, basically blurring the background of your subject, giving this sort of portrait mode effect that we have in photos and bringing that over to video, which should be super nice to see. I've always thought Apple's implementation of portrait mode has been a little harsh, so I'm curious to see how it translates translates on video, but portrait mode video should finally be coming with the 13 Pro and Pro Max. I'm curious to see how much of that is being used by the hardware, specifically the processor or the LiDAR sensor, if this is being done in terms of software. I'm curious to see how they do it, but portrait mode video should be a thing. Another feature that might or might not make the cut is an astrophotography mode, sort of the special night mode for astrophotography enthusiasts that you can sort of use your 13 Pro and Pro Max to get these special shots. Not sure if that's gonna happen or not. And then the other big features here have to do with video, which is ProRes video support on the iPhone. Not sure if this is true ProRes recording, like uncompressed ProRes recording on your iPhone, or if this is a flavor of ProRes, but some sort of Apple ProRes support should be coming to the 13 Pro and Pro Max. So look forward to that. If you like taking a lot of video on your iPhone, you're gonna have more tools in your hands, more capable hardware to shoot some really awesome video. Pricing is not expected to change, so just keep in mind the pricing on the 12 is gonna come over to the 13 lineup, so just do with that information what you will. In terms of storage and capacity, there were some rumors of a 1 terabyte option on the Pro, but we're not sure if that's gonna happen or not. Touch ID was also rumored to be under the display, but it doesn't look like that made the cut for this year's iPhone lineup, unfortunately. And then colors. We don't know what Apple is planning to do in terms of colors. Will purple stick around? Will we have the same color lineup on the 13 that we did on the 12? We just don't know. That is sort of TBD. And then in terms of a special color on the Pro end iPhones, right now the consensus seems to be Apple could do some sort of burnt orange, sunset gold color, sort of an orangey, pinky, rose goldy gold color on the iPhone as the exclusive color of the Pro end 13 models this year. So just keep that in mind in terms of colors and availability and stuff like that. I'd expect everything to be pretty much in line with what happened last year, but we're gonna be getting it all bumped up a little bit. So the event will be in September. Hopefully the phones will release at the end of September, and we'll all be able to enjoy our iPhones a little bit earlier this year than we did in 2020. So now comes the question you've all been waiting for. Which iPhone 13 should you buy? And hopefully I kind of gave you all the answers to your questions that you had during the video. If I didn't, drop a comment down below and I can answer it. But let me try to give you a very concise Apple Circle buyer's guide as to which iPhone you should buy. If you're looking for a small iPhone with flagship features, go with a 13 mini. If you want the largest iPhone screen possible, then the 13 Pro Max is going to be the way to go. That's a pretty clear-cut decision. But what about if you're stuck in the middle between 13 and 13 Pro? What's it gonna take to get you to upgrade? And again, really the features on these Pro end iPhones are going to come down to ProMotion display, maybe an always-on display, and then again, a lot of the improvements with the camera. You're gonna have the ProRes video support, portrait mode video, the improved ultra-wide lens. Of course, you're gonna get the telephoto lens on here that you're not gonna get on the regular 13. More of the Pro end features you'd expect. There are, of course, differences between the build quality and stuff like that, little stuff, but this is really coming down to features. What do you value more? And I think, as many years, it really comes down to camera and how much you value that camera system. ProMotion is sort of a nice thing to have. I'm not sure if that's a make or break for most people, especially since Touch ID isn't at play here, at least not what we're assuming is gonna be at play. Always on display, again, really nice, but probably not gonna be a deal breaker one way or the other. It's really going to come down to camera, especially if you're torn between these two screen size options. If you're a fan of recording a lot of content on your iPhone, you want the most versatile camera system with the telephoto and the improved ultra-wide lens. If you want all those video features in terms of software, basically, if you're a photo junkie who shoots a lot of photo and video on your iPhone, then the 13 Pro is probably going to be worth the extra money. You're gonna get, of course, the nice things like ProMotion and stuff like that, but really it's the camera improvements and the camera features that you are going to value. If you're more of a casual photographer, you just like taking nice pictures on your iPhone and you don't really care about all those Pro end features, save the money and go with the 13, because you're still getting all, again, the flagship features like the better processor, the bigger battery, smaller notch, really great display. ProMotion's not gonna be there, but you're still getting an excellent camera setup that's gonna be versatile, it's gonna take great photos and great videos as well. So it really kind of comes down to how much you value that photo and video mode, and the other stuff is kind of more of a bonus. But of course, I'm open to a discussion. What are your thoughts? What are the most important features here on the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 Pro? Which way are you going? Are you gonna upgrade to the Pro model because you want those extra features? Are you gonna save your money and go with the 13? Are you gonna buy the 13 mini because this is the last year it's gonna be offered? Or are you gonna skip this generation and wait for the iPhone 14 or just something else entirely? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments down below, we can discuss. As always, thank you guys so much for watching the Apple Circle. I appreciate it. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I will see you all in the next one.